morning to everybody who's here in the panelists and then also our students. And we're going to get started. My name is Carol, and I'm with Fulfillment Fund. And also with Fulfillment Fund is Olivia, and she's one of our college counselors with College Success. And then we're going to have our panelists identify and introduce themselves a little bit. Let's start with Jessica.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Klepper Wiederhorn. I just got married last weekend, so my new last name's attached. And I am the co-founder and COO of an organization called Society of Saleswomen. I also was, back when Fulfillment Fund had a mentorship program, I was a mentor for 7 years in the program. And I'm currently pursuing my MBA at USC right now. I'm almost done. I have 2 semesters to go.
Wonderful. How about Brenda?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brenda Martin. I currently work for Comerica Bank, and I run the business banking group for the Orange County and San Diego markets. I went to UCLA, so I'm a Bruin, Jessica. But yeah, so I've been in banking for, gosh, too long, 25 years. But yeah, I really enjoy what I do, helping businesses, small businesses, I would say anywhere from 5 million, sometimes 3 million in sales up to 30 or 50 million in sales.
Oh, nice. And now we have Paul, who's joining us from a beautiful backyard.
Yes.
Paul, welcome. And would you introduce yourself a little bit so that our students know who you are?
Sure. Hi, I'm Paul Lazear. I am the CEO of Fully Functional Technology, which is a full stack IT services company, among other things. We have done a lot of VR infrastructure around the world. We built the world's first VR, and still largest, VR theme park in Dubai. Worked with Marvel Comics to do the Marvel experience, the traveling show from 2015, 2016. So we've done quite a lot in the IT space, and I'm happy to be here and talk to you today.
Thank you. Well, let's start with an easy one. How did you each go into what you're doing right now? And not go what you started with, but where you are now. Let's start with Paul and work our way back.
I can answer that. Yeah, sure. So I was a lifeguard. I grew up very poor. I was a lifeguard when I went to college. I was an undergrad at Pomona College and the Claremont colleges. And I found out that, and I didn't know very much about IT at all, but I found out that IT was the highest paying job on campus. This was 94, right as internet was kind of ramping up through 98. So I got to see the birth of the web in college. And so I just got started kind of chasing the money, quite honestly. Like, I'd love to tell you, oh, it was my passion all along. Well, it became my passion, but quite honestly, it was interesting because it paid more than being a lifeguard. And then going forward, it did become something I was fascinated by in terms of, I love helping people. I see IT in many ways as the knot in a lot of people's lives. You know, you've got something that should extend the reach of humankind, should make life easier. I keep joking, technology will make our lives easier, and it doesn't always. So I love that, I built a system, I built a company that for many people does make lives easier and build some really cool stuff. The Marvel experience was cool stuff. You know, the Dubai project was really cool stuff. So I get to do some things that I get some cred with my my daughter and my nieces and nephews. So in terms of getting from starting with IT kind of desktop support, it was really just following my own narrative. It was kind of going, this is interesting to me, but what is more interesting to me? And renewable energy is where I am right now. It's the most interesting thing on the planet to me. So I have leveraged IT and building IT systems for renewable energy builds. And that's exciting to me. So it gets me up in the morning, keeps me up at night. So I know this is very much about following your passion. And I would say this is on the right track. Follow your passion, even if it doesn't look like what you thought. Like, I never honestly thought that I'd be in IT. Like, I love IT. I've been working in it 25 years at this point. And it wasn't the thing that I as a kid, I was like, I want to grow up and be, an IT person, or I want to grow up and be a CEO for that matter. And what I get to do. So take what you have in front of you and shape it to wherever you want to go. Because that's all I did. I took what was in front of me, the opportunities that were in front of me, and shaped them in the direction I wanted to go.
Just to follow up on one of the questions, and then we can move to someone else.
Yeah.
When you said you didn't think about being a CEO, did you ever envision owning your own company, let alone being the CEO? Because was that part of the plan ever when you started going into it?
Not really, and I don't know if this will resonate with any of the students out there. I was a little anti-capitalist. I was kind of a communist growing up. I thought capitalism was damaging in many ways, and I think part of it was growth and understanding that. Like so many things, the corporate system is a tool. And I think that I was helped a lot in that in the 90s and early 2000s, you saw a lot of companies that were really getting that of going, yes, it's a tool, but it's like a drill. It can be used to break things or it can be used to fix things. And it's just an organizational structure, and it's a very effective organizational structure. So no, I never really thought of that. And once it became apparent to me that this is really, if you want to forward the planet, if you want to make people's lives better, there's not many other structures out there that are so efficient and so effective. And again, I'm certainly not the first one to recognize that. I was very much helped by a lot of what was going on in the .com and later, where people were realizing you can improve the lives of people as well as make a lot of money and build a successful company. They're not mutually exclusive.
Got it. And so from that, I'm going to jump over to Brenda. And because if you are making a lot of money and you're helping a lot of people, you need a bank. And so Brenda is with Comerica, which that's my little segue there. What about you, Brenda? How did you get into it? Into banking?
Yeah, so it's funny. I was an economics major in college. And honestly, I had no interest in finance. This is a really good story. Really, and I had taken accounting classes. I hated accounting. I thought it was really boring. Never really liked numbers that much. So I was a teller going through college. Just, I needed to have a job to help fund, things I wanted to do. And then when I graduated, kind of, the manager at the time said, "Hey, we have a full-time position for you." I thought, just kind of like, well, I need to make some money. Right. And so great, I'll just do that for now. So I started that way in banking, and then kind of throughout the years have done, I'm sort of the type of person, I used to get bored easily doing the same thing, mundane thing over and over again. So through that initial kind of in a retail branch is where I started. And from there, I took on various positions doing like private banking, and then ultimately found an area that I really loved, which was business banking and working with business owners. So I kind of get, I had to learn skills that I weren't interested in. So accounting, you have to know accounting to be in my role. You have to understand finance. So that's a skill I had to learn to be good at, just so that I could be where I am today and work with business owners. I think what makes my job so interesting is I'm meeting with business owners from all different industries, and they fascinate me. And I get to hear the stories of how they started. A manufacturer, I started with $2,000 in my garage, and now, they're a $30 million company. So And so, when you look at someone like me, and I tell you, I get bored very easily. I'm never bored in my role, right? Because I'm meeting with so many different people, which makes the job so interesting. And over the years, this is sort of the niche that I found that I'm most passionate about. In college, I honestly, I had no clue, really, just didn't know what I wanted to do. It just kind of fell in my lap that way, and over the years has developed. But I don't think, I'm amazed at those who know really early, when they're in college, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. And I wasn't like that. And I don't think you have to be like that. I think you can explore different things when you're young. And I think that's the beauty of being in college and being young and maybe not having a lot of commitments. You can try different things and see, what are you most passionate about, right? And then kind of figure out, you don't have to know where you want to go when where you are today. And I think that's, for me, I wish someone had told me that, and I probably would have tried different things. Maybe I would have been in banking for a couple of years and gone into a different area, but I sort of just kind of stayed. I'm a little bit more conservative. Bankers are known not to be risk takers. I always thought, oh, it'd be cool to have my own company, but we're a little more conservative. So I sort of kind of stayed the route. But I think in retrospect, it would have been kind of cool to take different risks early in my life. But I just, sorry, I'm kind of here where I am today, and I love what I do. So.
Well, loving what you do is a good part of the day then. So that's important. Jessica, we're over to you.
So I'm glad that Paul and Brenda went before me because I have some similarities. I started my career, I was a marketing major, business major, also took the accounting classes and all that stuff. Never thought I'd ever look at a spreadsheet ever, or a income statement or balance sheet ever again, but I actually ended up doing that in my career. I also wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I ended up doing a marketing job, but I also wanted to chase the money. So I went into sales. And if you're a salesperson, you can make as much as a lawyer or a doctor without going to grad school. You can actually make quite a bit of money. And I was single for many, many years and living in LA. That's an expensive place to live. And so I went into a sales career for 20 years and I worked at FedEx and American Express, and also worked with business owners and had to look at income statements and balance sheets all the time. But same thing, I loved working with the business owners. I thought it was so fun, but my brain was thinking, you know what, if this guy could do it, I could do it too. Because it's not as, I felt like in some cases, some of these people were just either lucky or they were just hard workers and they were able to start their own companies. Why can't I do that? Mm-hmm. And so, same as Brenda, I think like part of figuring out where you land is the exploration part. So if you don't know what you're passionate about, you just try different things out and what feels good and what doesn't feel good. Like that's literally how you gauge it. And for me, I'm sort of an introvert, but sales made me be a little more of an extrovert, which I didn't know I had in me. And I started to, instead of thinking of it as some cheesy job, I was thinking of it in the same way the other two said, which is helping people and being a consultant and finding ways to help them build their business and grow. And I got a lot of joy out of it. And so there's just a point where I felt like, I want to do something on my own. I want to be able to make some sort of impact in the world too. I want to have some sort of, not legacy, but something to leave behind also. And so when I co-founded Society of Saleswomen, it's a nonprofit organization, and it was really taking every single thing I've ever learned. So I became a certified yoga instructor. I mentored people through Fulfillment Fund. I was in sales, and I put it all together in one thing. So nothing's ever a waste. I just took everything and put it into a combination and made something on my own. And I happened to find someone else who also was a yoga instructor and is a VP of sales. And so we created together, and next year we're putting together a yoga retreat for saleswomen to learn selling skills and handstands together. So,
wow.
You never think of that combination, but that's unique to us. And so whatever the thing is unique to you, just kind of go with it and try things out. And I also was not very risky or conservative, but I sort of got to the point where I did really well at saving my money and had a lot saved up where I could quit my job and focus on this passion that I wanted to just sort of create. So that's how I ended up where I am today.
Great. Would you guys recommend, since one of the things that we tell our students is that networking is so important. Is it something that, especially when you're saying that you have the chance to try different things as you're going through your college experience to find what you're passionate about, if you're given an opportunity for an internship or something like that even in high school, is it something that you might have been able to tell your younger self, do it because maybe it would help you find it faster to get to that place that you're really passionate about? Or would you wait until after you get through college?
I would say absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah, so I would say absolutely. I want to echo, and it's such great hearing from the other panelists, like everything that has been my experience as well. Yeah, try things, try different things. There's a kind of an adage, fail often, fail fast. So a failure can be what we call failure, or at least what we term it as such, can be a great teacher. And so you want to try something out, you want to do different things. Like I said, I I am a CEO of a company that spans 3 different continents at this point. We have our web design team in the Philippines. We have an arm in Dubai, and then we're in LA. And 20 years ago, right out of college, I was running a commune because that's what I was passionate about. That's what I was interested in. I was doing IT, but it was the opportunities, again, it was these opportunities that are in front of you. And I'm sure through your college, through your life, you have different opportunities. And I think, one of the things I wish somebody had told me, or at least that I'd listened to, maybe people did tell me, but I knew everything in college. So I didn't always listen. So one thing I wish I would have listened to is that you don't need to know what you want to do for the rest of your life right now. You might want to know what you're going to do and how it fits into your overall plan. And even that's not necessary. Follow your passion. There is a great book, Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell, which I read in college. And Bill Moyer is interviewing him at one point. And the guy's comparative religions. He's comparing all these different religions around the world. He said, if you could synthesize the one lesson that you got from this. And he said, from all the, Inuit and Chinese and Egyptian and Native American Judeo-Christian traditions, it's follow your bliss. I always remember that, follow your bliss. And it sounds, at least to me in my 20s, it sounded a little cheesy. And I have learned the truth of it over and over and over again so getting back to the original question, networking and things like that. I didn't do a lot of the networking events. I'm not knocking them. I'm saying absolutely do networking. It is amazing. And I didn't do it in the way that I thought kind of you were supposed to for business, go to these networking mixers and join BNI and all that, which I did for a little bit. But mostly it was through connections and connecting with people, things that actually I enjoyed a great deal. Our Dubai project came because we built the IMAX, the first VR arcade in Beverly Hills with IMAX. But we got that because I was friends with somebody who was friends with, it was these connections, personal connections. Our kids played together. They talked to me about this, my company bid on the project. So people say, oh, it's who you know. And a lot of times that's used dismissively. I would say that's a positive. Look around, connect with the people in your life, network with the people in your life, put yourself out there, and you might be surprised at what occurs. I never thought that, we'd be building the first VR arcade in Beverly Hills, which would then lead to our biggest project in Dubai. And that was through personal connections, through personal networking. And so I would definitely encourage that, and that you would allow yourself to network even in ways that don't look like business networking. So mine through communes, through our kids playing together, you can always network, you can always connect with people, and you can always kind of put out there what it is that you're about at that point in your life. And that can change. That can always change.
Brenda or Jessica, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in college, I try to do internships every term, and I actually changed them up. I do them I was at a quarter system school. So the business school at University of Washington would post different internships, and I just applied, and I tried everything. I worked at Merrill Lynch. I worked as like a promotions girl at a radio station because I just didn't know what I wanted. And I felt like having the hands-on experience could tell me, definitely yes, definitely no. I mean, I decided after that, I never wanted to be a stockbroker ever. I couldn't do the hours. And the people looked really stressed out, but I got to understand myself better. And along the way, I collected an amazing group of really cool bosses and people who could write recommendation letters for me. I had to go back to one of my old, internship bosses to write a letter to get me into USC for this MBA program. So you never know who and when is going to connect you to something. It's just,
Absolutely.
As long as it's an authentic relationship, you're not using someone for some purpose. And, I guess there's some element that everybody's sort of connected to somebody for something eventually. But I think if you're being true to yourself about it and true to the other person, you just never know. You never know where it could lead. There could be something that you're really interested in, and this opportunity pops up just because you've met this person at a school mixer 2 years ago, and they just happen to be in the same industry now. So you just never know. So it's always good to just be open. And every job I had, by the way, after school came through somebody I knew as well. I didn't blindly apply to jobs. Actually, somebody
Yes.
helped me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Advice. Brenda, you too? You agree?
Yeah, I actually interview. We have an internship program. I interview interns all the time.
Oh,
So I was never, that's one thing. When I was in college, I was never an intern. So no one, back then said, "Oh, you should try this." And so I wish someone had told me that. But it's always interesting when I do talk to interns. Most of the interns that I interviewed have done it at least 2 or 3 times. And if you look at the resume, it's always something completely different. And I always ask them, "So what did you learn? Did you like that?" And it's like, "Wow, it was a really great experience. I met some interesting people," or, "Oh, I really hated it. It was more into marketing and I'm not a marketer." So to Paul and Jessica's point, it helps you find yourself and figure out like what you like and what you don't like. And then the connections are amazing. "Oh, I met this or my boss was really cool. And, he knows this person that is in this, was introduced me into this industry, et cetera." And when we hire interns, I encourage them to talk to various people in the bank, because within a bank, you have many different roles. You have people that work with dealerships exclusively, or people that work with, high tech companies. So that's an opportunity for them to figure out, and then I said, you can figure out what industry you want to specifically be in if you want to go into banking, right? So, but yeah, I would definitely, every chance you get, it doesn't, you may have an offer and you look at it and go, "Oh, I don't know." Well, you should try it. It's 4 weeks maybe, right? I mean, obviously, if you have multiple offers, you want to look at the one that you're probably most interested in, but I'd look at what you think you're going to get the most out of, or I would try something different too. Be a little bit uncomfortable. One great advice someone gave me, you're learning and growing when you're uncomfortable. I'm like, gosh, I don't want to be uncomfortable all the time. But, that's when there's some growth. You get the butterflies, it's exciting. So I would encourage you all to try something a little different, and definitely on board with the internships. Yeah.
and I've also heard from a lot of our students and even friends when I was doing internships myself, that you're also learning them from other people. So I might not have wanted to be a stockbroker, but listening to Jessica, I probably would have definitely decided not to be a stockbroker. Or I might have changed my mind and thought it sounds amazing. Because if it's not something that you can find your passion through friends and family too, even though you might not have thought about that when you started out.
Yes.
I also think when you're a college student, especially, I call it playing the dumb card, even though we know you're not dumb, but it's sort of like this is your one chance to be like, "I'm a student, help me learn." And people want to help you learn. Like, you can't really get away with that when you're 30, by the way. People will let you get away with it when you're in college.
Ask whatever you want. It's never a dumb question. Exactly.
Paul, do you want to add something, or do you agree with that? It's not a dumb question.
I do want to add something. Brenda and actually everyone, I think, has made this. I want to re-land this point about being uncomfortable and about failure and about there's someone once told me, be a heat-seeking missile for that which frightens you. And I think because there's so much growth opportunities, there's so much possibility in those things that frighten you. And I mean, obviously, you've used some common sense here. I mean, this isn't all things in all situations. And for the most part, usually those things like what somebody was saying earlier, I'm not, I'm more introverted. So being social had me, kind of fill out that part of myself, so at least what I heard. And I've experienced the same thing, is those things that are not as comfortable for me. So for example, sales was never comfortable for me. I didn't like selling. I would grow up saying, "Oh, I never want to sell anything," because I had an idea of what that was like. To me, it was inauthentic. And so another great point one of the other panelists said earlier was, be authentic to yourself. And if you're okay with where you are with it, then go for it. And it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to feel like this isn't something that is sort of the natural thing that you're good at, because in that you're growing, in that you're expanding, in that you're learning. I am a CEO and have been for 5 years now. it is not always comfortable for me. This is not the stuff that sings to me all the time, and I'm passionate about it. I love it. I wouldn't trade it. And I always saw myself as kind of the field person. I love being the person that solves problems. And now I get to be the person that lifts up and empowers the people who are solving the problems. It's a different thing. It's a very different job. And it hasn't always been comfortable. I want to get out there in the field. I want to get out there and be the one on the front line. And sometimes I get to. And I get that my role is different. And so if you ever find yourself in those roles that are not, not your natural fit, kind of ask yourself. Like sometimes it's okay to say, okay, no, these are my boundaries. This is not cool. And sometimes you get to go, this is the thing that I get is sort of the lack, the thing that I don't, I'm not comfortable with, and allow yourself that growth and allow yourself to be uncomfortable.
But how do you keep your passion alive for whatever it is you're doing when you're under stress? I mean, especially for the last 20 months, it has been a very stressful time. So assuming the pandemic will not last forever, and by this time our students are in college and then looking for jobs, they're still going to hit stress. How do you stay passionate about what you're doing when you're stressed?
I can go. Yeah. So yes. First of all, self-care, and this is one of the things I realized. I'm very old here. My birthday was yesterday. I'm 45 now, as of yesterday. Thank you. So is that one of the things that I find so refreshing about people sort of in a younger cohort is the understanding and emphasis on self-care and mental health and I think COVID was a great reset. I think all of us really got to understand. I understand it certainly better than I did 2 years ago. So one thing I would say is, take care of yourself. Mental health, self-care. Another great piece of advice. I have meetings all the time. I have meetings around the, different time zones around the world. One of my mentors at one point said to me, she was booking appointments like this, and she was like, I give myself 10 minutes. And I don't do anything. I don't solve anyone's problems. I don't answer phones. And I was like, oh my goodness, I never thought that was possible. I thought you had to be, there's so much to handle. And so getting that you matter, and in fact, what your growth and your health matters more than anything, just shifting that focus to like, oh, I need to make money. I need to do this. I need to handle this, solve this problem. Got it. And take care of yourself. It's like what they say on the airlines, if the oxygen mask drop, you put one on yourself first before you help anyone else. Do that. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And so those are the kinds of things, like you have boundaries for yourself. You go, set appropriate limits. Like for me, there'll be times when I go, I need to reconnect with my daughter. I'm going to have 30 minutes. I don't care if the facility's on fire. Someone else gets to handle that. So set those limits for yourself, set boundaries, take care of your mental health, and then understand that stress is something that we all experience. There's nothing wrong with it. We all have made mistakes. We have all, been in that situation, and figure out what it is. Again, this is all going to come back to the same point. What is true for you? There are going to be things that are going to support you. I used to beat up on myself for playing video games. Oh my gosh, I'm 45. I should. Well, you know what? Spending a little bit of time just turning my brain off when I've got so many decisions and so many things on my mind. And again, healthy limits, appropriate time, like go. That's great. So whatever it is for you, you need some time outdoors. Physical tends to help a lot for me. If I'm hiking or if I'm doing something, work with it and understand that it's just something that we all get to work with and channel. And I know most of us probably understand this after the last 2 years, but yes, I would say the one thing is, don't beat yourself up for it. We all get stressed. We all have stuff. It's just how we get to deal with it. And we all get to.
Brenda, you were nodding. Do you agree?
Yeah, I can totally relate. So I'm married and I have a 10-year-old and I have a super active dog. I was one of the ones that got the puppy during COVID too, because I needed one more thing on my plate. So, Yeah, not to reiterate it, but you do need I have to shut down at times and my thing for me is Netflix on my iPad. I got to be able to watch my show, and that I can block everything out and be kind of, or when I go on vacation, I have to not be working the entire time. So I think you have to, and I think I'm a big proponent of exercise and physical activity. Exercise is a fountain of youth, and I think you need to somehow incorporate that in your life if you want to stay mentally and physically healthy. I mean, I love the yoga thing that you guys are doing. I think that's really cool. But you see more of that nowadays too. But that's just, you've got to find time for yourself. I mean, you may be caring for others, et cetera, and you have to be selfish at times and care for yourself. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
At any age. Yeah, Jessica, you agree, especially with yoga, and the same thing that Brenda just said. You've incorporated into what your daily is.
Yes, the yoga is part of the program. So is napping. I love napping. I try to take a nap every day for 10 minutes. If you can and I perfected it in college, actually. The 10 to 12 minute power nap, if you can do it, it's better than coffee, I think, personally. But like Paul said, I do think if you're doing anything that's really meaningful or important, and the stress part's just going to come with it. I mentioned I got married last weekend. I've been planning this wedding for 2 years while doing my classes and starting this company. And so I had my fair share of stressful moments, but I think the thing that gets me through all of them is how good it's going to feel when it's over. So, the wedding was absolutely amazing. I was like not eating for a couple of days before and really stressed out, but it was so worth it in the end. And same with the school. I'm right there with you in school right now, like midterms, finals, papers, all that stuff really, really stressed me out. But after it's over and, and most of the time, if I do pretty well, I feel really good about it. And I feel like I learned something and I can apply it somewhere. And so I feel like, if you're getting stressed for no reason, then that's probably really unhealthy. But if there's a little stress involved with whatever you're trying to achieve, maybe that's a little bit of a driver, can help with your adrenaline moving forward. I think it's how we look at it or how we decide to process stress that makes a difference. So if you want to process it in a really negative way and let it get you down, your body will tell you. I get sick if I'm too stressed and don't look at it in a right, healthy way. And same as the others, I take the time to exercise and do things too, to just sort of keep that balance. But when you start a company or you're really passionate about something, that also helps you kind of get through the stress, because it always sounds exciting. Like, I'm going to start my own company, and it sounds really cool and fun, but you also have to like deal with lawyers and accounting people and no offense to Brenda, accounting people and all these other things you don't really want to do, but it's just part of the process. And as long as the thing the main focus or whatever you're trying to achieve with your project or your career or whatever it is being met, then those things don't take over, if that makes sense. If you hate your job, then it's probably going to take over.
That makes sense. I'm going to go back to something that you had said earlier about when you were applying to USC, that you tapped into a former internship, somebody that you had worked with. Would you, since we try and talk to our students about finding mentors, and mentors can give you support, would you say that perhaps that person mentored you as you were in your process of learning to get to your passion and help you move forward? Yes.
I mean, there's mentors and sponsors. So there's kind of two kinds of people that you want to have in your life. And a sponsor is usually within the company that you're at, who's kind of, campaigning for you to help you get to achieve different levels. And a mentor doesn't have to be in your company. A mentor could be outside your company. It could be a personal mentor. I mean, maybe you need to just personally get self-confidence or something completely separate from like a professional world to just help you become the best version of you. And I think a mentor is just another voice. They might see things in you that you don't see in yourself. And I always think it's really important. So Society of Saleswomen, we have a formal mentorship program within our structure as well. And we try to pair, women who want to go into sales or like maybe afraid of sales, like they run their own company, but they're afraid of sales and don't know how to do it, with like a seasoned saleswoman. And so we do that because there might be skills or gaps that you want to learn, but you you can't do an internship, or you're not getting it out of your current job or in school. And so it's just another voice and advocate for you. But I would say one piece of advice, having been mentored and being a mentor, is that realize that you can bring things to the table too. You don't have to just show up and learn. You actually can maybe teach your mentor things too, because sometimes mentors are sort of stuck in their ways or have been doing things a similar way for so long, and they're open to learning new things too. So it really should be a two-way experience and relationship. And I think people are also afraid of like, how do I find a mentor? How do I approach somebody? But a lot of people are really open to mentoring, and you can find people on LinkedIn if there's somebody you admire. You just never know, like go for no, try asking someone if, hey, can I reach out to you for coffee once a quarter or something like that? Because I'm so curious about how you got to where you are. And it doesn't have to be a formal thing either. It can be informal. Because I had my internships, that was sort of a formal setup, and I formed great relationships. So I sort of naturally got a mentor out of it. But you also can go seek a mentor. So you don't have to sit back and wait for that. You can go find it too.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's important to get support regardless of where they're in the best way possible. And like you said, there's so many different ways. Brenda or Paul, have you had mentors in the past that have really kind of moved you forward?
Yeah, it's so funny. So I've had mentors throughout my career, personal, and some of those folks are referred to like as life coaches too, and then professional. So like, for example, right now I have what Jessica referred to as a sponsor too. So the bank is really focused on more women at the executive level. So they've had folks like myself have sponsors at much higher levels in the company to, move more women up through the ranks. So that's been really interesting too. And I just started that program. But I think the biggest thing for me with mentors is, you have a way that you perceive yourself, and perception is everything. And everybody has blind spots. You may think you're a certain way, you act a certain, no, I'm really friendly, everybody likes me. Well, so a mentor at times can help with perception, say, okay, I know you think that all these folks around you like this, and this about you, but did you know that when you do this, it's perceived as X, right? So sometimes perception of ourselves is different than what the outward world looks at us, right? So we see ourselves a certain way, and how everyone else sees us could be different. And I think with a mentor, that person can really help you in that area as well. And that'll be kind of like personal growth along with professional growth. So that's what really helped me over the years with mentorship. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I have continuously had mentors, been mentor. And yeah, to vector off that point, feedback is wonderful. I think societally, and certainly like in my own upbringing, you kind of don't always love to hear what's thought of again as criticism. I think partly the term, we call things failure instead of, hey, these are learning opportunities. What is it? Edison said, I haven't failed. I just found 1,000 different ways it didn't work. So with a mentor seeking feedback, genuine, honest, direct feedback, and I have been so grateful for people telling me, hey, I think of myself this way. And then they go, well, actually, this part isn't working right now. And so you want to bridge the gap from where you see yourself, who you want to be in the world, what you want to create in the world, and maybe how you're showing up currently. And the best way to do that is to get outside of our own head. And mentors are one of the best ways, because they're vested in supporting you in that. You can always you can get feedback from anywhere. You can get feedback from strangers. Strangers will, or friends, or will kind of let you know how you're showing up. But yeah, always, the other analogy I think of is like Olympic athletes. They all have coaches, and there's a reason for that. Not that they're not great athletes, not that they're not already fantastic at what they do, but because to keep that level of performance, you want to have a mentor, you want to have a coach. And there are a lot of ways to do that. There's the formal path. Yes, I've had life coach. I've been a life coach. And there's also the informal, I think Jessica, or I'm sorry, I don't know what Brenda was saying, like, yeah, hey, call someone up for coffee. Say, hey, I'd love to kind of pick your brain a little bit. And most people are very happy And maybe one last piece of advice, if you don't ask, you don't get. So if you see someone, you admire someone, ask them. Maybe they'll say yes, maybe they won't. And you don't ask, you don't get.
Really good advice, which almost basically brings us to our last question. We just have a couple minutes left. Is there any parting advice that you would give to the students? I mean, you've given such amazing advice as it is.
I would just say, don't let fear dictate any decisions, because I think sometimes we make decisions based off of fear, and that's a learning experience too.
Yes.
But when you're in college, you have so many people ready to help, willing to help. You have resources. Each of your colleges have counselors and centers and alumni. There's so many options available, and this is the one time that you're among people who are all your age. So get to know the people around you. Just take advantage of every opportunity you can while you're there, because it's going to be over before you know it. And then you're out there and you don't have that same support network or system out there. So just build as much as you can while you're there, and enjoy too. Have fun, enjoy. That's the compass for life, is the joy. So use that as your compass.
With passion comes joy, or is it vice versa?
I would say what I didn't do, I wish I would have done. I would say try new things. If you have an opportunity to do something different, try it. And I wish I had done more of that even if you know you're passionate about something, try something different. You guys are so young. You can really explore. I guess that's the key. Explore different things to really see how different areas of professions, or whether it's meeting new people, do something that's different, a little uncomfortable, and don't just stay kind of on a mundane path. Just try different things. I think as you're young, you can do it. You'll be more grateful looking back, saying you don't want to be in that position where you're in a point you go, gosh, I wish I would have tried this. I wish I would have traveled here. I'd say do it now, because you guys are so young. So that's really my advice I would give.
Great.
Yeah. And I would echo a lot of that. Absolutely. Try new things, branch out. And there's, the great wisdom of the ages, to thine own self be true. You are the hero of your narrative. And as long as you're always coming back to that, as long as you're always getting, this is your development, this is, who you are, and always being true to yourself. Just, believe it or not, there's a great piece of advice in a cartoon I watched with my daughter, Frozen 2. A great piece of advice in that. They say, if you don't know what to do the next right thing. And in this term, right isn't necessarily like, do the moral thing, of course, but do what's right for you. So look around. You may not know what you want to do in 10 years. You may not know what you want to create. And if you do, awesome, start building towards that. And if not, what is the next thing that feels true to you? And again, understanding sometimes you're going to be uncomfortable, sometimes it's not going to be easy, all of that. Continue and understand this is all part of your story, your narrative, and be true to that. If you find yourself in a situation where it's not true to that, you're hating your job, you're hating where you are in life, well, then you don't need to stay anywhere forever. You can always change. So start doing that now. Start branching out now. Start trying different things, and see if they're true for you.
Thank you. That's amazing advice. I think we should all take it, actually, not just the students, but all of us. What you've all said is just great. And I want to thank you again so much from all of us at Fulfillment Fund. We are so appreciative that you joined us for this morning. And students, we're so glad that you came. And thank you so, so very much. We really appreciate it. And it was so lovely meeting you guys, the three of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Glad to be here. Good luck. Thank
And
you.
have a wonderful rest of the day. It's beautiful out.